Yesterday I backpacked for 10 miles, camped out in the rain, and then backpacked another 15 miles. But before I get into explaining that or showing the video, this is a rock that I found on the trail. People paint these, they leave them so you can find them, and you can either keep it or pass it on. I love this bird. I'm going to keep this rock.
Oh, a little over an hour into my 10-mile hike around Lake Craig, which I try to do about twice a week just to stay in shape. Got a full pack. If I wanted to, I could camp out and probably survive for about 4 days. And so that's just part of what my routine is. There's a lot of people out here fishing on the lake. Not a lot, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 canoes and boats. Don't know how the fishing is. I think it's probably pretty poor right now. Okay, I'm 5 minutes from being finished with my walk around Lake Craig, and not far from the parking lot. And got the walkway, kind of the boardwalk pier, and beyond that is the parking lot. And so looks like it's getting ready to really rain here. It's getting pretty dark out there. But anyway, it's been an enjoyable hike, just trying to stay in shape, and so much for now. So I'm at the Croft Ranger Station. I decided to, even though it's starting to rain, decided to go ahead and set up my tent, camp out here, and test out some of my equipment, my tent, my sleeping bag, etc. Okay, so much for now. Okay, I'm set up in my Z-Packs tent. It's raining, and there's no doubt in my mind that this will keep me dry. This is an exceptionally good tent for keeping you dry and for not leaking. And so I'm just going to try out my equipment like I mentioned before, and my sleeping bag, my pad, and see how well it does. Temperature's only going to get down into the low 40s tonight, and but with the rain, it ought to be interesting night. Catch you later. The heat. Gonna put it into my homemade cozy. And just let it sit for 10 minutes while it continues to gradually cook the beans and rice. Let's see what happens. This is Soto Windmaster. Works really, really well. Push a button and it ignites. So this is my Z-Packs duplex tent, and I got it all set up. And it's nice to be on these pine needles. It's been raining for the last hour since I've been here, but getting things all situated. I just took everything out of my backpack and kind of spread it around. I got supper kind of cooking. Put it in my cozy where it continues to cook. Yeah, just seeing how everything's gonna work out. It's just still a really nice day. Looking forward to eating supper though.
The Z-Packs duplex tent weighs a little over 20 ounces, and that's what I want in my pack when I'm hiking all those miles.
Okay, so that worked really well. I think I left it for about 15 minutes in there, and the beans and the rice are really nice, tender, ready to go. And this is a titanium pot, and it's extremely lightweight. Did you notice? I forgot my spork, and so I found this, dug this out somewhere, and just have to use that.
You can't tell it, but this tent is screened in with the bug netting all the way around it. It has about a 6-inch deep bathtub on it so that the rain can't get in. And it's very tough stuff. And so I don't worry when the rain comes or the bugs are out. So just to give you an idea what this 25-pound backpack has a tent with all the pegs, has air pad and pillow, sleeping bag, cook set with fuel and a titanium pot, and a spork when I don't forget it. Has 4 days of food, has water to last 10 plus hiking hours with a water filter, the Sawyer water filter to filter my water. Has electronics, which also includes a power pack that can charge my iPhone 5 times. It also charges my headlamp. I have my down puffy coat, fleece zip-up jacket, dry clothes for sleeping, extra set of clothes, toiletries, a couple bandanas, and that's about it.
Well, all packed up, ready to go, and gonna hike around the lake again, and maybe go all the way up to Dairy Ridge Road and come back. That'd be quite a few miles, but the sun is coming through, and so I'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, so to do my hike around the lake, I'll usually just make a right turn right there and go around the lake to the right, and I'll finish up just above my head coming in that way around the lake. But it was pretty nippy that day. I mean, look at the steam coming off the water. Wish I'd have worn my gloves for the first hour, but things worked out. So 45 minutes into my hike, I get to the trail right here that runs right between Lake Johnson and Lake Craig. This is where it's running over the dam, and it's going to create a lot of problems. So the engineers are working on how to fix this problem, and hopefully they'll have it fixed soon, because it's going to create some real devastation when that breaks through to Lake Craig. We're going to see a lot of overflow. Okay, so right now I'm on the Lake Johnson Loop Trail, but I'm also on part of the Palmetto Trail, which when it's completed will run the whole length of the state. And also notice that this is a half marathon trail as well. They do a half marathon at Croft State Park. Okay, so when I saw this piece of wood, I became nostalgic. Commodore's from Utah, he came out here, we were hiking in the woods. We found this rhino horn, I call it, but it's where the pine resin collects in a tree limb, a pine tree, and it's full of resin, and we call it fatwood, and it burns really well. We decided to leave this one here, but Commodore and I were standing there. That's the last time I saw that on the trail, was when he was here. So again, yeah, it was pretty nostalgic. Hey, I caught 3 of these little lizards and let them go, but I love these guys. They turn different colors depending upon their background. They'll be green, then they'll be gray, and then they'll be brown. But had these when I was a kid. Used to love them. That was in South Dakota. We'd buy them at the 5 and dime. But anyway, that was fun. There were about a half dozen of these turtles, but they started dropping into the water when I walked by. But I was just thinking, when I started my hike yesterday, just before I started, I saw a whole bunch of turkey. There were about a dozen of them. They were big birds. They weren't small. And I had about 3 deer sightings over the 2 hikes that I had. So I actually did make it up to the Dairy Ridge Road parking lot, and made a big loop out of that, and then came back and circled around Lake Craig again. That was about a 15-mile trek, and but I felt pretty good the whole time, and so I wanted to get up there and get back. So here I am at the parking lot, Lake Craig, where they launched the boats, and about 7 hours to do this approximately 15 miles. But it was a great hike, and if you really like hiking or just walking on some of the trails, this park has some awesome trails. You ought to get out there and check them out. But it's just a lot of fun to be out there and see all that stuff.